Welcome everyone to our new deal webinar this evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I want to say, I know your time is scarce, so I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to go through the entire deal and then feel free to please ask questions. I'll say that a few times, but I truly mean it. My name is Dr. Nkem Izamama. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I founded Phoenix Capital. And it's truly because of the investors in the room tonight. And I see you guys and I say welcome. Most of you on this call are healthcare professionals. You're high earners like me, which means that you really understand the problem I'm about to describe better than any slide can explain. You work hard, you earn well, and a large share of what you earn kind of leaves every April, and you know what I'm talking about. So tonight, I am going to walk you through a 492, yes, you heard that right, 492 unit apartment community in Atlanta that we are acquiring for $77.5 million. And as of an hour and a half ago, I can actually reveal the name of the deal because we just signed the purchase and sale agreement. I kid you not. An hour and a half ago, we finally signed it. The first step between the buyer and the seller, we got that done about an hour and a half ago. So I'm excited to share this with you. So let us get into it. But again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Please ask me any questions. I want to make sure that everyone fully understands what is being discussed tonight. Okay, so this is the deal. It is Montrose Berkeley Lake, our newest pride and joy. And I am thoroughly excited to bring this opportunity to you this evening.
What if the biggest opportunity in our journey could become the beginning of yours? Phoenix began with one physician, one vision, and 48 units. Then came a team, a community, and more high-earning professionals choosing to build alongside us. Today, that journey represents more than $150 million in assets and over 150 active investors. But the numbers were never the mission. The mission is to help 5,000 high-earning professionals gain access to opportunities that can move their financial futures forward. Some of you helped write our first chapter. Some of you are joining us for the first time. But tonight, we all stand at the beginning of something bigger. We are moving from 48 units to 492 homes filled with possibility. Are you ready to be part of what comes next? Get ready to discover the big one.
So, before I tell you all about it, I want to tell you who's standing behind it. Because in real estate, in private real estate, right, you're not just buying a building, you are trusting the operator. And like you heard, right, today, Phoenix, we manage more than $153 million in assets across 770 units, a lot of it in the Sun Belt. And in the last year, we acquired $107 million. That's in just a little under 12 months. And we have returned over $1 million to our investors. I built this firm the same way most of you want to invest in it, right? I started as a limited partner, writing checks to other people's deals while I was still working full-time in the ER. And I learned the model from the passenger seat before I ever took the wheel. So everything that we underwrite it very conservatively, and we manage it for a long-term hold. So we plan to hold our deals for about 5 years before we think about selling. So we're not a firm that really moves fast for the sake of moving fast. We really move with conviction because that's what we promised that we would bring to our investors. This is our track record in one page. 6 properties over the last almost 4 years, $153 million of partnered, invested, and acquired opportunities. The Park at Arlington, a lot of you investors are on this call, Grove Park View, the Rise, right? All of it. And Grove Park View is about 20 minutes away from Montrose Berkeley Lake. And so we are very excited to, again, acquire these properties in the Atlanta MSA. I point to Grove Park View on purpose because it sits in the same county as tonight's deal, like I just said. And the rents that we're getting in that property are already telling us where the market is going. And we're really excited about that. So this is not our first rodeo. We know how to buy these assets. We know how to improve them. And then we know how to hand returns to our investors. So this is the deal in one screen. 492 units. It was built in 1988. Again, I'm so excited that I can share this deal with you this evening, but Montrose Berkeley Lake. We're purchasing it for $77.5 million, which kind of shakes out to be about $157,000 per unit. We're going in at a cap rate of 5.6%, and that's more conservative. And we're exiting at a cap rate of 5.75, again, with a plan to hold it for about 5 years. The total equity that we are raising in this property is a little under $34 million. I want you to hold on to those two numbers for me. So the price per unit and the going in cap. In a few slides, I'm going to really explain to you what that means. And I'm going to help you understand why we're being really conservative about it. These are the returns that we're targeting. And I want to be precise with you with my language, right? They are targeted returns. They're not guaranteed. And I will say this, and I tell this to all my investors, every single person who I get on a call with, I say, nothing in real estate is guaranteed. And anybody who tells you otherwise, it should worry you. You should probably say, no, thank you, right? But these are our targeted returns, and they're very conservative, and I will show you numbers. Now, if you're on this deal and you are an investor or you're thinking very seriously about this deal and you want to review the underwriting, you want me to review it with you, or you want to review the underwriting, I would gladly do that, and I'd gladly send that to you. But on this deal, we are underwriting a multiple we're looking at a multiple of almost 2x. So that's 2 times the money that you invested, and an average return, an average yearly return of anywhere from 16 to 18%. And that's once you include selling, right? So that's cash flow plus appreciation. But on top of that, and I think this is what gets a lot of investors excited, is that about up to roughly 49% of what you invest can come back in year 1 as a paper tax loss. And this is what, again, gets our investors really excited. I will spend real time on the latter part, right? I'll spend time talking to you about why investors are really excited about about the tax benefits of this deal. And so real quickly, right, the 3 reasons that this deal really excited us and really cleared our bar. We're going to renovate about 179 units, and we already saw that the seller is getting premiums way higher than what we're targeting for the units that they've renovated. And so we know this is something that is already happening, and it will continue to happen. Another thing is, and this one's important, and we'll talk about that a little more, but we are able to, right now, the deal is producing in net operating income 1.3 times the debt that we're going to be paying on a monthly and on a yearly basis. And that's very important, because the lender will not even lend us money if the deal is not actively performing if they don't have a net operating income. So if the deal is not performing or is not producing income, about 1.25 times. So already the start off runway, we're about 1.31, which makes this deal just as excited. So our team already put up a link. So if you are like, okay, I'm already excited. This is the start, right? We'll put up the link again. So if you didn't get a chance to click on it, please feel free to do that. I want to show you what you're actually buying, because I think it's important. It's garden style. Again, it's 1988. We're planning to do renovation as part of our business plan, and I'll tell you a lot about that. But I will tell you that I went on the property, and it is very pretty. It's spread across 41 acres. I will also tell you that I toured most of it, but at some point I was exhausted because I was walking the whole thing, and I didn't get to, we split up into teams, and I think I got to building 17, and I was like, okay, this is legit. So, but that density matters. And again, it was beautiful. There's a lake in the middle, and I hope that a lot of investors will take me up on the opportunity to actually go tour this property. These days, newer products that are coming to market, right, they stack them 4 or 5 stories high, kind of to squeeze the land. But this asset, honestly, it breathes. There's a lot of space. There are 32 residential buildings. There's a clubhouse. There's a rentable space. There's 2 large parking spaces. And today, it's 93.5% occupied. So the deal's doing really well. It's performing really well. And so when you walk it, right, it doesn't feel like a 1988 building. And I told you that I walked it a little over 2 weeks ago. It really feels like a resort. And the amenities are, a lot of the amenities are like brand new. They look like brand new assets when compared to the amenities in like new properties. And so, and that's something that is very important. I know it's important to a lot of our investors. And I'll say this, right, the gym, and I think we have pictures of the gym, so pay attention when you see pictures of the property, but the gym has like really fancy equipment. It has like Rogue equipment, which is better than like the gym that I go to. And I thought I went to a really pretty nice deal. And so if you're, again, right, I said, if you're interested in touring the property, please let me know. I will make it happen. So this is the unit mix. It's 3 floor plans. We have 1 bedroom, which is about 735 square feet, and that is about 26% of the entire property. And then the 2 bedroom is just over 1,000 square feet. And then we have a larger 2 bedroom, so it's 1s and 2s. And the larger 2 bedroom is about 1,125 square feet. So that's what it is. Again, the amenities I told you, there's a resort pool, there's a sun deck, there's a Rogue Fitness gym, which I'm really excited about. There's a turf soccer field, which I also got to walk around in and take some pictures. There are 2 dog parks. If you're a dog owner and lover like me, this is important. There are walking trails, which I actually got to walk the trail, and Google Fiber is already there. And the schools, I want to spend time on the schools, and I'll spend time with talking about the schools later, but all the schools are A-rated. And it's important because when we buy this asset, right, we are thinking about how providing housing to 492 families. And so we want to make sure that one of the things we look at is what is the school district around. And so we will go into that in a little bit more detail. So now I want to lean in because this is where I think a lot of operators kind of wave their hands, but this is where we do homework, right? So it's important to note, I told you that we have a property, we acquired a property last year, Grove Park View, and it's about 20 minutes away. But our 1 bedroom rents, for our right now on this property, it rents for about 1,254, right? If you look at the screen, right, the comparable properties around us, right, today are already renting and they're getting like $1,400 to $1,600 on the same bedroom count. But our goal is to go in, right? This is a 1988 property. Our goal is to go in and do renovations. And so even after we renovate, right, we're still going to only increase rent to about an average of $210. And that's going to put us to about $1,408. That's still kind of in that range of the properties. We're not even as high as properties charging $1,600. So again, right, it's not the top of the market. After renovation, it's still going to be the 4th line down. And that's the same story for the 2 bedrooms. And that's something that we're going to think about, right? And as we even push rents, like to the bigger 2 bedrooms, it's going to be like $1,600 post renovation when properties in the area are already getting $1,700. So I tell you that to say part of what we do is truly conservative underwriting. I could be more aggressive, but I'm choosing not to be, because every rent number in our model, like it's rents that someone in this submarket is already paying for. And so we see that and we know that we're capable of achieving it. So we're not projecting a future that doesn't exist, right? We're catching up to the present and the deal is still going to do well. So the 3 reasons why we are buying Montrose Berkeley Lake, and none of them is because it's cheap. It's not, right? First, the basis. That's the most important. We're buying it for $77.5 million. But as much as that sounds like a lot, right? It was appraised for $91 million in 2023. And we underwrite a conservative exit of about $120 million. So we're buying below where things are already valued. And if you were to build this property right today, right, it would cost so much more, right? It's cheaper than replacement cost. So that's also how you think about in terms of the appraisal. And if it was appraised at that 3 years ago, right, we are going to do our own appraisal required by the lender, but that's already what the property is telling you. And that second, I told you that premium, right? It's not a projection. So the current owner has renovated a little over 80 units, right? And those 80 units are collecting rent from anywhere from $150 to $225. And so we're going in and our goal is to do about 179 more of those units. And we're going to do the same scope. So we went into every single one of those units, 492, went into all of them when we were there with the whole team a few weeks ago when we were doing due diligence. So we see it, we see what has been done, and we're going to replicate that. Again, the proof of concept is already there. So we're just going in with our team, property management team, asset management team, right? We're just going in there to see the scope and to make sure that it matches what we underwrote on paper. And third location, right? It's Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, which is in that area, right? There are 370,000 jobs within like a 15-mile radius. And so like the work here is already de-risked, because one of the biggest things we think about when we're figuring out a place to buy is location. And one of those factors is jobs. And I see the questions coming in the chat, and I'm excited. Please keep them coming. So I'm going to move through. These are the photos I was talking to you. I'm going to move through the photos quickly, but see it, enjoy it. But I wanted you to sit with one idea, right? Every amenity that you see on screen, so the pool, the clubhouse, the gym, all those cool stuff, the grilling stations, right? It's already been built and it's already paid for. So we are not raising capital to build a pool, right? We're raising the capital to renovate the interior and immediately convert that to higher rent. We're going to also renovate the exterior as well, but your dollars are going to the highest return of work because we're going to see return on investment right away. So we're not catching up on what's already done. There's not a lot of what we call deferred maintenance on the property. So let's jump into the business plan. And this is exactly what makes money for you, right? So we're renovating, and I want to spend some time for you to just kind of understand that. We're going to renovate 179 units. That's about 36% of the property. We're doing that at about $15,000 per unit. And again, right, that's conservative, but we're doing full renovations. We might go in and find out that we can get it done for cheaper, right? But right now, we want to make sure, just based on where replacement costs are, where construction cost is going, we want to make sure that we factor that into our underwriting. But at that renovation budget, right, our rent premium is about $211 a month per renovated unit. So the total budget to renovate it is just a little under $4 million. But I want you to kind of notice the pace, right? We're not going in, we're not kicking out tenants. We're going to renovate about 4 to 5 units a month. We're going to start as soon as we take over, right? After we just kind of get the lay of the land, get everything, reconciled, right? We're going to start renovation. That looks anywhere from month 3 to month 6, right? That just ideally looks like when we're going to start renovating. And again, we're not gutting it. A lot of the property looks good. We're going to renovate some of the exterior, but we're going to be renovating as the units turn. And again, we've seen the premiums and we're just going to keep reinvesting. I think about it as like a disciplined self-funding rhythm, right? And again, it's what the sellers have already done. That's what we're doing. And for those of you who kind of want to see receipts, right, this is what it is. This slide just really talks about exactly the breakdown of where every dollar is going. And this is just, of course, one slide. But again, right, if you want the underwriting that goes into significant detail, and the underwriting has been updated because we've gone to the property. We actually went with general contractors, we went with roofers, we went with landscapers. So we got actual bids. So these are updated numbers on what we know that we're going to be, what the cost is going to be. So again, right, it's a little under 4 million, 3.9, but it's priced line by line. So you can see the interior scope. Again, I told you it's about 15,000. Kitchen, bathroom, lighting, hardware. We're going to be changing all of that in about 180 units. On the exterior, this is what we've done. We're going to go in and we're going to fix the retaining walls. We're going to fix the siding. We're going to I think I showed you pictures of just like looking at the scope of the property. It takes a lot to just do landscaping on this property. So we're going to make sure that we have that. There are a lot of trees that need to be limbed. And so that's part of the exterior budget, right? Also curb appeal. When a new tenant, right, a new family wants to come in, like they want to walk into something that is beautiful and they're like, yes, I can live here. And so we're going to pressure wash, but that's a lot of the exterior. But this is the number that should give you comfort, right? The prior owners, they've already put in almost more than $7.5 million into the assets. And that's including a little less than $1 million in the last 12 months on structures and units. So there's not a lot of deferred maintenance. So our budget, right, when you look at it, it's truly funding the upside, and it's not paying down like it's not paying down things that the old sellers didn't do, or the prior sellers. So this is the slide that like my nature as a physician loves the most, because I want to talk about, so I'm talking about all the upside, but I also want to talk about the downside, right? And I underwrite deals the way kind of I like look at work, right? So I look for what could go wrong first. And I think that's important. You should look at that and say, like, what could go wrong in this opportunity? And when you meet with me, which I'd love for everyone to meet with me, right? Make sure, like, ask these questions. How are we de-risking this? What are some of the things that we're worried about? How are we mitigating those risks? So I told you right now, right? In-place occupancy is about 93.5%, and that's from day one. we make sure we want our properties to be anywhere from like 93 to 95% occupancy, and that's a good place to be. And so that's what we charge our property management team. We use a third-party property management team. They manage all our properties in Atlanta, and so we charge them with that expectation. And I told you our day one debt coverage is 1.3 times. So the income that the deal is producing after we've paid expenses, right now it's 1.3 times the cost of our debt. And if you look at the screen, right, it's climbing to about an average of 1.49 over the hold. So hear me, and this is important, right? Not that we're going to let it, but occupancy can fall 6 full points. So like what's 93 minus 6, it's 87. So it can fall 6 full points before the year one cash flow even breaks even. And so again, right, we're not going to let that happen, right? We're going to work really hard day one to continue to improve this property. But that is just giving you some comfort that even in how conservative our underwriting is, there's still cushion. Another thing that is important is rent growth. So we assume the rent growth of 3% a year. So we say like rent, you know how when you lived in apartments, like every year rent went up by like $25, $50, right? So we assume that rent is going to grow about 3% every year. But since 2020, right, the submarket that we're in, even the Atlanta MSA, rent has grown more than 23%, right? Some years have done better than others, but we're really conservative with that number, and we're at about 3%. Our debt, it's important, right? We have senior debt that is at 5.7%, and that's fixed. It's full term, and we're going to get 24 months of interest only. So a lot of deals that suffered in years prior, right? They probably bought with floating debt. So we're not doing that. We have fixed debt. So no matter what the Fed does, right, it's not going to bother us because we're fixed. So I want you to know that like every risk on the right side of this slide, it has a mitigation next to it, or like at least something that we're thinking for and we're being prepared for. And I want to say like that's not marketing, right? It's just really how we are protecting your capital, because that's the most important. I've talked about NOI, NOI, NOI. So net operating income is like the engine of your return, right? So how we get the net operating income is the income. So all the rents that the tenants pay, right? And all the additional income. So like pet fee, anything of that sort, anything that falls under other income, all of that is put together, right? Like pest control, trash, all of that is the income. And then all the expenses, right? So all the expenses go out. So like think repair, maintenance, admin, right? What we're paying, payroll, all of that stuff are expenses, they go out. What's left, that bottom line, is your net operating income. Ours is actually going to grow about 44% over the hold. And that looks like a little over $4.5 million that is in place today to $6.7 million at exit. And I want to be clear where that growth is coming from. And again, charge me with reviewing the underwriting, and I'll take you up on that offer. But this is where that growth is coming from. It's coming from the renovation premium. So I told you that over the next, as soon as we buy this deal, we're planning to close early November, late October, early November is our close. And so like between month 3 to 6 and maybe 3 years in, right, we are going to renovate, and that's our big goal. So the growth, right, that net operating income growing about 44% is going to come from renovation premiums, and it's really going to come from the 3% market growth. So the 3% market rent growth, right? It's not going to come from like financial engineering. It's not going to come from like really heroic assumptions. It's really just going to come from those two premiums, renovation premiums, and market rent growth. And I told you our market rent growth is growing at about 3% yearly. But at the same time, because of inflation, we're also going to have our expenses grow at about 2% as well. So we're assuming that this asset is going to perform fairly in like an ordinary market. And these are the numbers that we're projecting. If the market does better than ordinary, which Atlanta has a habit of doing that, right? Then these returns are not capped. They're only going to get better. This is a snapshot of the underwriting. It's a lot of information. Again, I can send you the full underwriting and I can even review it with you. But this slide is important. I don't want to read every line to you, but I want you to know that it exists, because it's the difference between buying a building and truly buying a business. And so the effective gross income, right, is going to grow about 29%. That's to about 11 million by the end of the hold, which is about 5 years. And then our expense ratio is we are planning to go in and improve the expenses, right? So it's at about 47%, and we're going to try to bring that down to about 40%. We want to run the property just a little tighter than the current owners running it. And we're doing that not by ourselves, but really with the help of our property management team. And so that's the one thing that we've charged them, right? How can we decrease expenses? Even though we know expenses we still project that we're going to grow them we're going to grow them by 2% every year, but we're still charging them with really being a little slimmer and tighter on how we run the property. And then I want you to look at bad debt, right? It's going to fall from a historical average of about 390,000 to 50,000, but that's going to happen by like year 5, right? And it's purely through better collections. So this is over like $340,000 a year that we'll recover by managing well. Now, I will say this, and I can say this to you, right? We had a property, right, that we just bought in the last year plus that we inherited a significant amount of bad debt, and we just finished cleaning that out. And so what I'm telling you is possible because we've already done it. So when we say we're going to underwrite line by line, right, this is exactly what that looks like. And so this is how the whole thing is capitalized, and it's important for you. I want you to know every tidbit about this deal. So at the end of the day, it's going to cost $88 million. About 61% of that is senior debt. So that's fixed full term. That's what our lender is giving us. And then we have a small portion that is preferred equity, and that's about $5 million. So roughly, right, we're raising about $39.9 million, and that's common equity. And that's the money that we are all putting in together, you and I. So, and now on the uses side, right, the purchase price, acquisition cost, the renovation budget, acquisition fee, and operating reserves is what is totaling to that amount. And I want to flag 2 things very plainly. Like, one is the debt and the preferred terms, right? Those are right now, they are what we call indicative, which means like they're not committed to yet, but this is what we are going to get. We're most likely going to get. So I want to tell you rather than hide it. So as we speak, right, we're talking with our preferred equity partners. They have been preferred equity partners in the last 3 deals that we've done. And then right now the lender is actively underwriting the general partnership team. And this is what they've given us as a quote. And most likely this is what's going to end up happening. And secondly, right, the second thing I want to flag is that we're carrying almost $1 million in operating reserves. I will say this, right, because rainy day always comes. And so we never buy an asset without a cushion, right? Because the deals that people get hurt are the ones that there's no room to breathe, right? If something happens, you don't have money that's stored away for something. So the amount sounds large, but the deal is large. And so hence the big deal. But it is large, but we really, I can tell you from past experiences, we want that cushion. And so we're building that into the capitalization budget. Okay, so let's zoom a little bit out. We've talked about the deal, and I'm going to tell you kind of investment criteria in a second, but I want to just zoom out and talk about why here, right? Why Atlanta? Why the Atlanta MSA? And the core of everything we do is one question: where are people moving to? That is the most important question. I will tell you that Atlanta added about 62,000 residents in the last year, and that's a third from the entire country, behind Houston and Dallas. And that looks like roughly 176 people that are moving into the metro every single day. And then the future forecast calls for another like 71,000 residents, with about 19,000 new jobs that are being created. And this is through 2030. I want to say one thing, right? We look at the deal that it's a good deal to buy today. And we also make sure that the fundamentals make sense so that when we're ready to sell, right, the market is still good and we have another buyer who's just as interested in wanting to buy in the market. So we're also thinking about that. And these numbers are forecasted to 2030. It's the best city to start a career, most educated city. It's a great city, right? And so we benefit from all of that. When you're buying housing, right, you want to buy directly in the path of growth. And that's exactly where this asset sits. That's what you need to be thinking about, whether you're looking to invest with us or you're even thinking about buying for yourself. Where is the path of growth? That's where you should go. But also real estate is very hyper local, right? So it's really like kind of also what happens in your backyard. So in the sub-market that we're in, right, there are about 1 million people, and there's the growth is about 1.5% annually. There are about 33,000 businesses, and the property sits at really cool. It's like at the I-85 corridor. So if you've been to that Atlanta, you know there are 4 major employment centers within 15 miles. There's tech around the corner, corporate headquarters, healthcare is also there, right? So all of that is kind of, it's centered around where this property is. Amazon, McKesson, Kaiser, all of it. Those are the tenants that are all around our property. And it's also important, right, that the job base is diverse. It's very important. We never want to buy in a market that lives and dies by one industry, because like if anything happens, if that industry sneezes, if things change, right, our tenants, our families are going to lose their jobs, and we're going to lose our rent, right? And so the market is broad, it's deep, but those are the things that we're really thinking about. I said I come back to schools, and this is why it matters to a real estate investor. And this is why it should matter to you, not just to a parent, right? When I run what we call the sleep test on a property, right, one of the first things that I ask is, would a family want to raise their kids here, right? When I was there 2 weeks ago, right, I saw kids playing outside, and it's summer, and it was really nice to see that, right? And so the kind of attendance zone that we think about it, and especially for this community, it has 3 rated A+ schools or A schools, and that's important. So the high school, the middle school, the elementary. And Duluth, this property is in Duluth. It's in Gwinnett County, and it's the 6th safest city in Georgia, and it's the 2nd best place to live in the county. So again, right, families don't churn out from neighborhoods like this, right? They stay, they renew, they pay their rent on time. You know, the kids find friends. They go from elementary school to middle school to high school because of that stability. So that stability is worth more than like a single flashy amenity. They're like, oh, fancy, I don't know, whatever. But like something that they want stability. They want to know that their kids are going to grow up in a good school district. And so that's really important. And it's not just quiet, and it's not just safe, right? Like it's just fun. And I drove around it. There's like a really quaint, nice area, a nice shopping district. There's this historic downtown, not too far away, tons of restaurants, a live city, a live music scene, right? And then 4 miles from there, you have major arena, convention district. So all of that is in that area, is in Duluth. And then Atlanta itself is 25 miles south. So it's not far, right? So there's just stuff to do all over. And really occupancy, this is what keeps occupancy high and truly turnover pretty low. Okay, I've talked about all of that. I have a few slides that are very important that I want to focus on. And this is the slide that most of you came for. And this is the one that I care about because I've lived the problem that it solves. So when I was working full-time clinical shifts, right, I would look at my W-2 in April, and I would watch 1/3 of it just disappear. And the truth is that the wealthy, they don't play by those rules, right? It's not because they're cheating. It's because the tax code rewards people who provide housing. And now like you and I can be one of them. And so this is how it works, right? We do something, we commission a cost segregation study, right? So that's where a structural engineer goes and studies and goes to the property and studies it and reclassifies all the buildings, like the components of the buildings, into shorter depreciation life. So like the roof and the AC and the HVAC, and the structure, right? All of that gets depreciated. And then we apply 100% bonus depreciation. And Congress made that permanent last year. So for any property acquired after January 2025, you get bonus depreciation year 1. And so we're closing this asset in 2026. And so that creates paper loss in year 1. So you get all of that paper loss in year 1. And you will receive it, right? So my investors know around February, March, we try to make sure that everyone gets their K1s by March. But you're going to receive that Schedule K1. And for a lot of investors, right, it equals shelter. all the cash distributions that you receive from this deal. And depending on kind of like your personal situation, your passive income, so any passive income you are making, right, it can shelter the cash. So I'll say the rule of thumb as we finalize the numbers is that up to $49,000 of paper losses for every $1,000 that you invest in year one, you're going to get it. Now, a question that investors who I've spoken to on the phone have asked me is like, will that finish if I don't use all of it year one, can I roll it over? And the answer is yes. So like it belongs to you and your investment. So let's say the first year you get maybe like 7,000 in cash flow, and that comes to you as distributions, right? You have that 49,000, right? It'll offset all of that cash flow I gave you year one. Whatever is left will roll into year two. But there are three honest caveats, and please listen to me. I want you to understand that, right? The passive activity losses limit how much you can use each year. So the depreciation, it gets recaptured when we sell. And this is, I'm getting into like the nitty gritty, but it's important. So your actual outcome depends entirely on your tax position. So I want you to confirm every number with your CPA. I'm a doctor. I'm not an accountant, and Phoenix does not give tax advice. So what I'm telling you right now is to benefit you on this investment. But take this information. I want you to talk to it with your CPA, your financial advisor, whoever you run big decisions by. Please feel free to run it by them. Okay, so this is a slide that a lot of people are waiting for, and I want to make this concrete, right? We have two classes, Class B and Class C. Class B is a $100,000 minimum, and this is where most of our community invests. You get 6% preferred return, which means that before Phoenix Capital earns a single dollar of profit on this deal, you're going to get 6% first. And that's what preferred means. It's just cumulative. So let's say year one, we focus heavy on renovations, right? And you don't get the full 6%, right? It carries over and it's going to be paid in full every single year. Then in year five, when we sell, right, you get your $100,000 back, plus you get 70% of the profit split. So kind of on the illustration on the screen, and this is what we have underwritten for, right? If the deal performs better, right, the numbers increase. But this illustration, right, $100,000 investment is going to return about $182,000 total in 5 years. And so that's a multiple of roughly 1.8 times what you invested. And it's an average like annual return yearly of about 16.5%. I want to say it again, right, because compliance matters, and also because it's true, right? These figures, we get these numbers from our underwriting, from how the deal has done prior, right? We look at the financials for the last series of years, and then we project forward. So this is what our current underwriting is saying. It's not guaranteed, but it could actually do better. So this is Class B. And I will say this, right? Our team is going to put up on the screen a link for you to commit, right? If you are even thinking about it. So if you're just like, I'm not sure where I fall, I'm not sure how much I have to invest, I'm thinking about using my 401k, please feel free to just sign up, fill out the form. We will reach out to you, and every single person who fills out the form, we will commit to getting back to you, understanding your situation and figuring out how best you can invest. So that was $100,000. For those people, and we have investors who want to put in more work, right? We created Class C. It's smaller, and it's a reserved equity group with the minimum being $250,000. But for you to come into this, when you decide you're like, okay, I have a little bit more money, can you incentivize me a little bit more? Yes, we can. Class C is going to earn a higher 7% preferred return, and they take a larger profit at exit. So it's 7% preferred return and a 75% profit share at sale. So again, right, on the illustration on the screen, if you invested $250,000, it's going to look like about $477,000 by the end of our hold period. And that looks like a return of 18.2%. So the logic is kind of simple, right? You bring more capital to help improve the community, and you participate more in the upside. So both classes are open tonight, and now both are defined in the private placement memorandum. So now that we've signed the purchase and sale agreement, I can share the private placement memorandum with you. I will share the deal deck for everybody that's on this call. If you fill out the form, I will go ahead and send you all this information so you can read it in detail. But that is truly the document that governs its entire investment, and it's what you and I agreed to. So I'll definitely fill out the form. I'll send it to you. We'll send you the deal deck. We'll send you everything now that we signed the PSA. But you have access to all of that, and especially if you reserve your spot tonight. So that's the most important thing. Okay, so as we wrap up, how do you actually get into this deal? This is where I want to spend time, because some of investors are kind of thinking, how do I want to invest, right? So there are three ways. The first one is individually. So with cash, you can use a checking account, savings account. You can take money from under your bed, wherever it is, you can invest with that, right? And then the second is through an entity. So I've had investors invest through an LLC, through a trust, a partnership, a family trust, right? All of that are open to you. And the third is the one that I want to spend a few minutes talking about, and it's through your retirement account. So a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, self-directed IRA, or an old 401k. Most of you are sitting here, you're listening, whenever you listen to the recording, right? Most of you have money that's sitting in like your former employer's 401k that you have not even thought about. You haven't touched it in years. I want to show you how that money can own real estate. So bear with me. I try to keep the slides very simple, but take a picture. This is a busy slide. Take a picture of it, because it helps you break down investing with an old 401k or an IRA. And I think it's really important for you to spend a minute or two kind of glossing through and reading this and understanding what it means to invest with your IRA or your old 401k. So let me demystify this, because it is the single most underused resource, investment capital in this country. Let me say this, drink a sip. So there is roughly $1.2 trillion, that's trillion with a T, that is sitting in old, forgotten 401k accounts from jobs that people left years ago. And it's just sitting there, and they know they have money there, right? They just forget about it. If you've ever changed employers, some of you probably, some of that is probably yours, right? And here's what most people don't know. That money does not have to sit in that same 3 index funds forever, right? You can actually invest in alternative assets, and real estate happens to be one of them. So you can move it into what is called a self-directed IRA, or if you qualify, a solo 401k, right? And the self-directed account is allowed to invest in private real estate, just like this deal. And the mechanics are a lot simpler than it sounds, right? You open a self-directed IRA account with a specialized custodian, and we have custodians that we have vetted for you, and so we will give you access to that, right? And we don't get any kickbacks. We just want to make sure that you have the opportunities and you know about it so you can invest with it, right? So what you do is you roll that old 401k into, or that IRA into, you roll it into a self-directed IRA, right? And what happens is that old 401k, it is like it acts as a trustee to trustee transfer. So that means that the money moves from one institution to another. So it moves from that trustee, your old 401k in the self-directed IRA, and it moves into the deal. So that's the other institution, and it never passes through your hands, right? And because you never touch that money, or you don't take possession of it, there is no tax or any like early withdrawal penalty. So that's very important, because people are like, well, if I'm touching my 401k, like, will I get penalized? The answer is no, right? So, and that's very, again, I want to emphasize that, because I get that question all the time, right? So how it happens is that your retirement account, right? Not you, the retirement account, that self-directed IRA, is what invests in the deal. It becomes the limited partner in Montrose Berkeley Lake. So like every dollar of cash flow and every dollar of profit at sale is going to flow from the deal back into your self-directed IRA. And it's going to be in that account, and it keeps compounding, tax deferred in a traditional account, or like a tax-free in a Roth, right? So you're not spending your retirement money right now. You're putting it to work in a hard asset instead of leaving it idle. And I wanted to spend time to explain that, because I really think it's really important. Now, I promise you in everything that I'm going to be straight. And so this is what I need you to understand before you do roll it into a self-directed IRA. So first, remember that 49% tax deduction that I got excited about early, right? that benefit is designed, it's designed to offset taxes that you pay on your personal income. So you only get that benefit when you use cash, right? And that's because when you invest through your retirement account, that account is already tax advantage, so you're not paying taxes. So the depreciation benefit that you're getting is largely wasted because you don't benefit from it. So that is one thing that you have to kind of remember. So the rule of thumb is this, right? This is how to think about, should I invest with cash or should I invest with my old 401k or a Roth IRA? The rule of thumb is this, right? If your year one tax write-off is what you're after, so if you're after that passive loss, then I would say invest with cash, right? But if tax deferred or tax-free growth of your retirement money, if that retirement money that you haven't even touched, that you were not going to touch anyways, if that's what you're after, if you just want the money to grow, right, then use the retirement account because it's an opportunity for you. So this is just my ask, right? If you are thinking about using the retirement funds, start now. It does take, right? Don't do it in October, please. It takes a few weeks to kind of roll over, right? And so I want you to make sure that you have that opportunity. So reserve your spot and my team will connect with you and just let us know that, hey, I'm thinking about, I want to hear more about the custodian that you work with. Connect me. I'm thinking about using my old 401k or self-directed IRA. So again, right, we'll connect you with them. They'll walk you through every question. They'll answer everything. You can start with me. I can answer some, but I will definitely pass you off to them because you're going to work with them. This is exactly how I moved like my own retirement money from my residency, and I used it and I invested it in real estate. So I've done it. It's wonderful. So we are wrapping up. This is what happens next. So thinking through next steps, right? Step one, the big decision, right? Reserve your spot. If you're even thinking about it, I want to break it down. I want to understand where you are. If you're like, I'm not sure about this investment, I'm not sure about the initial capital, book a call. Just reserve your spot. We will reach out to you. I will make sure that I talk personally with you. And when you reserve your spot, you're going to be able to get access to all the materials in the investor portal. That, again, we signed the PSA, so all of that is going to become available to you. The underwriting, if you want it, it can be a little daunting. So if you're happy with where you are and the understanding, right, then skip the underwriting. But if you want to really go over it and really break down the numbers, again, I'll do that with you. So you'll get the pro forma, you get the offering documents, the PPM. All of that is accessible to you after you reserve your spot. So after that, right, bring all your questions to me. We'll sit down with me, someone from the team, and then we will kind of understand your structure, your timing, understanding tax benefits, what you want to do, like whatever you need. I want to be able to go through this with you because I do remember what it was like investing in a deal and all the questions that I had. So after that, you will sign the PPM and the subscription agreement. You see it. I want to send that to you so you can review it with if you want to review with legal counsel, if you want to review it with your financial advisor, your CPA, right? You have access to that. And so after you do that and you sign that, the last step, very, very last step, is to wire funds to lock in your allocation. So funding is the last step. So take the time now to understand everything that we're talking about. And so the allocations, it's first come, first serve. So seats are limited. You saw the breakdown of where the monies are coming from and who's already allocated. So I say, if you're thinking about it, review it, get the subscription documents, review that. The people who reserve tonight, who reserve a spot, right, they'll get first access to kind of learning everything about the deal, especially as it just got released. Okay, so as we wrap up, if you take nothing else from tonight, right, go do your own due diligence, look at the details. If this deal does not check every single box, it doesn't check every single one of your boxes, then don't invest. But if you have been looking for a way to own institutional quality real estate without having to deal with tenants, termites, toilets, 2 a.m. phone calls, then this is a vehicle that could really work for you. And my team and I, we work every single day so that you don't have to. So this is how to get a hold of me, right? Again, the easiest thing for you to do, and we'll put up the link one more time, but the easiest thing for you to do is is to fill out the form, reserve your spot. We will be in touch with you within the next 48 hours. And then we will talk about kind of your personal situation. And okay, so this is just our confidentiality and disclaimer. Please do your due diligence. Take this information, take the deck to again, legal counsel, your CPA, your tax, your financial advisor, whoever makes decisions with you. If you need to sit down with your spouse and kind of go through this, I say yes. So I definitely want you to do that. And I'm excited. The questions are coming. The questions, look, there are a good number of questions. I'm very excited. So I want to say thank you. And we're going to put up the link one more time to the form to reserve your spot. But I want to say thank you. You can also scan the QR code to reserve your spot, so you have multiple options. But I would love, right? My heart and my goal is to welcome you into the ownership group of MONTROSE Berkeley Lake. So I want us, the goal with all of this is to build something that pays you, that shelters you, but it also gives 492 families a better place to call home. So thank you so much for your time. My goal was to stay under an hour, and I've scored. So I want to start. I see the questions rolling in. I'm quite excited. So I'm going to shift. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to start answering questions. Give me 2 seconds. Let's see. If everyone can see the screen, then I'm happy with everything. Okay, great. I think we can all see. So what is market occupancy? Like in terms of, so right now we are at 93% occupancy for the property. I think that's what you're asking. If you want to clarify a little bit better, please let me know. Any idea why the seller is selling at a discount, or did the value drop for a particular reason? Another great question. So they're actually not selling. They're selling, you can think about it as they're selling for a discount, but they have held this property since prior to COVID. And so the property has done really well, and they've actually exceeded their expectation. But they're selling it on what the market is today, right? And so that's where the market is today, right? It is a discount for us, right? But they've done really well, and they've kind of gotten a significant amount of profit. But with every investment, right, it comes a time where you've met your business plan and you're ready to sell, and that's where we are. Interesting. So the lender minimum is 1.3. Is this just a cushion that we underwrite? Great stuff. Okay, good question. No, the lender minimum is 1.25. So it's called the debt service coverage ratio. And that's the 1.25 that I told you that the lender requires that the deal is making. So this investment, the income has to be 1.25 times the cost of the loan. So in order for us to service it, so the deal is doing 1.3 times, so it's even better. But the lender requirement is 1.25. Given the renovation costs are based on bids from today, do those bids also include risk of increased construction costs contingencies over the time span of those renovation as turnover occurs? This is a great question. So yes, it does. We also include for inflation, and we still even add extra on top of that. So it's not going to, most times, Carmelita, it doesn't cost us the full 15,000. And so, but that's the cushion. We've already included cushion in that, so that we just account for that. But even on top of that, right, we still have reserves. And that's why we make sure that we have reserves, so that if something like this were to happen, it's another contingency that we have. I would like to have information to share with my accountant. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Vanessa, I will send you all that information. Next question. Okay, I have a few questions. Some are review, some are restate. Okay, so let's get ready. There are 8 questions on the slide. So what did you say Phoenix Investment has returned to investors in the past? In the past, we have returned about 1.1 million in returns to our investors. So that's from cash flow, and that's what investors are getting in distribution. How much of your capital is invested on the same term as investors? That is a wonderful question, Ayana. I invest alongside with investors. So in every deal that we have done, I have invested. I started at 50, and when our minimum went up, I also invested at 100. I told my investors, when I run out of capital, I will no longer invest, but I am still investing. And I think that it is important. I tell my investors every day that they should be able to ask me any question. And I'm so glad that you asked that. But yes, I invest alongside my investors as a limited partner. So when you get distributions, I also get distributions. Can investors ever be asked to contribute additional money? This is a great question. I am loving these questions. Yes, right? There is a time where maybe the deal is not performing and we ask investors to bring some more capital. In all the deal that Phoenix manages right now, we have not asked investors for any single capital. We have not asked them for any single money, any more money other than the money that they have invested in the deal. But yes, could that happen, right? And we mitigate things like that from happening, but for instance, by getting fixed debt, right? So our debt at 5.7%, right? So no matter what the feds do, that number isn't going up. So there's less likely chance that I'm going to ask you for more money. We have operational reserves, right? We build in contingencies for that reason. We manage the property. We have very, very, very active operators. So we know if there's a problem on the property, right? We know about it. And I told you, even based on our numbers right now, our break-even occupancy is at 87. If I did the math right, it's 86, 87%. So all of those are mitigations, are how we mitigate risk. Are there any additional sponsor fees? Yes. Good question. So we have acquisition fee, right? And we have a disposition fee when we sell, and we have an asset management fee. So those are the fees. In the PPM and in the subscription documents, you will have a breakdown of every single fee that we charge. You will see it. You'll get access to it. So yes, I love that question. What did you say was a safety net in case of rents not rising as expected, occupancy falling, insurance costs increasing? So we have operating reserves of 1.1 million, in addition to all the contingencies that we put inside of every single monies that we raise. What did you say about the debt on the property? It is loan to value is it's a little under 70%. That means they're giving us 70% in debt. It is fixed debt, and it is 5 years, and we can refinance, but I don't have all of the information because we're not there yet. We're just buying it, and they haven't given us final numbers. When they give us final numbers, Ayana, I can give that to you. Are there ever any opportunities for dependable current income or long-term appreciation? Yes. So yeah, the deal, if I get this question right, and I want to make sure all the other ones I'm accurate about my answer and I'm sure of it, but are there ever any opportunity for dependable current income or long-term? So yes, so you will get, all our deals are distributing. That means that every single deal that Phoenix is part of is cash flowing. And so investors are getting returns. So you are getting, by that, you're getting distributions, you're getting returns, and then long-term appreciation. Yes, the whole purpose of our business plan, right, is to make sure we force appreciate the value of the property. That's why we increase rents. That's why we manage well. That's why we decrease expenses. We manage slimmer, but not too slim, because all of that is so that we have appreciation on the property. You have mentioned this, but can you share what cash distributions and realized income from completed investments as compared to original projections? I can do that, but I can't do that this second. So I told you kind of what we've distributed, but if you would like to see a breakdown of that, I'd be happy to share that with you. And anybody else who asks, just fill out the claim your spot, reserve your spot, and then when we talk, right, ask me to show it to you. I mean, what is occupancy in the market? So property is at, the market right now is at about, just kind of in that MSA is, I think it's about 90, 91%. Is it possible to do a portion? Yes. This is a great question, Shauna. Yes, it is possible to do a portion as a self-directed IRA and a portion in cash. That is correct. Yes. Okay, another question. Would an investor be able to create an LLC that is a combination of small investors that pulls money to meet the minimum requirements? What if those investors are located in different states? Oh, this is a great question. And I love that you're thinking about creative ways to invest. Yes. So the answer is, I will say this, right? The answer is yes. But Carmelita, everyone in that LLC still has to be an accredited investor. So what that means is that for you to invest in property, to be an accredited investor, you have to make $200,000 as a single person, your income, your yearly income, or $300,000 as with your spouse, or you have to have either or you have to have a net worth of $1 million. So I would love to, Carlita, you and I, let's, again, we've talked recently, but let's talk again. And let's figure out how that can happen. And what if those investors are located in different states? It doesn't matter. But I will make sure, just one more thing about that. You don't have to go back to that question, but I will make sure I will talk with our legal team and I will get clarification on that before our meeting. The money invested and income made from the property, does the RMD affect it? Reginald, what is RMD? Just to make sure that I'm aware. Will you write that out or text me and I can respond to you personally? Can you still leave the money invested after the property is being sold? Wonderful question. So yes, you have options, right? So when the property is sold, you have an option to do something called a 1031 exchange. And that means that you have 6 months to move that money into a like-kind property, right? And so you can move that money right into another investment opportunity. And when you do that, you actually save yourself from paying capital gains tax at the end. So that's an opportunity. And you can take the money and reinvest it immediately. You can reinvest it with us. Or if you have another opportunity, you can reinvest it. But we try really hard that, like, as we're selling an opportunity, we try to make sure that we have another opportunity so that investors can move that money. And there are a lot of investors who, you know, they have residual income. They don't really need that money, but they love the appreciation. They love the cash flow, and they just want to continue that. So yes, that is an option. Late to the meeting, will there be a replay? Yes, there will be. And we will make sure our team sends that out. We're working hard to get it out to you tomorrow morning. Yes, so good question. Thank you. I wanted to get clear. So required minimum distribution that needs to be taken when you're 73. Yes, there will be. And I could talk more with you. I know that you self-committed. I could talk more with you about that. Okay. Thank you so much. These questions were great. I hope that I was clear, and I hope we didn't like speed through it, but I want to say thank you. Someone is still typing, so I will give everyone, oh, so wonderful. Thank you. I claimed it. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes. So thank you so much. I want to say thank you so much for your time. I know that your time is important. So thank you so much for everyone. I saw the chat was blowing up. I saw everyone joining in, right? I want to just say again, thank you. And I heard, good luck, everyone. Let's make this money. I agree. Thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you for doing this. I have questions, but I will reach out. Vanessa, I would love to schedule a call with you so that we can go through everything in detail. Thank you. Wow. I'm so excited. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Excited to see how Phoenix is growing. It is because of you. I will say that, right? It's because of all my investors on this call who have supported us from day one. So it excites me just to see it. It's not just the Phoenix thing. It's not just the me thing. It's a we thing. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much. Oh, everyone. Thank you. My cup is so full. So everyone, yes, I will make sure that you have the recordings. Would love to invest with a retirement account. Done. We'll talk about that, Carrie Ann. We'll talk about that so we can make that happen. I'm going to give everyone a second to just do shout outs. If you have any last minute questions, I will hang out a little bit on our I know that our team is here. Shout out to my wonderful team who's making this happen live. Thank you. I'm so grateful for everyone who jumped in. Thank you kindly. I'd love to get the Firefly summary whenever you get a chance. Absolutely. I hope it was on here, but if not, you'll get the recording. I got you. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, good night, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and you will get the recording tomorrow. And then I'm excited to kind of start jumping on calls to answer specific questions for specific people.